In the last video, we were introduced to arrays, and now we want to see if we can do anything useful with them. So we're going to make a program that will allow us to take the sum of all the values inside of our array. So we're going to start off here by making our array. We know that we need to specify what type of data we want to work with. Let's work with integer data. We need to name our array, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm extremely creative, so I'm going to go ahead and call my array array. Now in these square braces over here, you're going to want to include how many elements you plan to have inside of your array. I'm going to put 6 over here. And then put the equal sign and your curly braces, and now you'll separate with commas all of the values you plan to have inside of your array. We already said we plan to include 6 of them, so we'll go ahead and put 6 right here. We'll put 25, 5, 10, 25, 25, and 25. Reason I'm putting it like that, just so you guys know that it does not need to be in ascending or descending order. It doesn't matter, and it also does not matter if you have duplicates, just in case that was in your mind. Don't worry about it. Now, we remember that when we're making calculators or stuff that take the sum of things, we need to make a variable that will store that sum, right? The computer's not just going to let it freeload and just be floating around. You need to allocate memory for the sum, for it to be stored, because we're going to be making a loop, and we're going to be passing through that loop 6 times, each time to get a new value from our array. We're going to need to store that sum somewhere. So we're going to go ahead and give it a room. We're going to go and say that integer sum, and we'll assign it a value of 0 because we know the sum is going to start at 0 anyway, right? So we can go ahead and say start at 0. Now we're going to go ahead and make a for loop. Now the for loop, we know, we're going to have 3 things written inside of its bracket. You can see it on screen right now. We'll have to have the initialization, the condition, and the increment. So start off with our initialization, and we're going to say that x is going to be 0. Now normally you can say your initialization is whatever you want it to be, but this one you're going to want to start at 0, and I'm going to show you guys why. Now we have an error right here, and the reason is because we have not yet said what x is. We haven't said if x is an integer or a float, so make sure you can go ahead and do that right here if you didn't mention it earlier. Write that x is an integer. We'll go ahead and complete our brackets here. Now we have to have our condition. We'll say x is less than 6. X is less than 6 because we want to have 6 turns for the 6 elements inside of our array, and we're starting at 0, and 0 counts as 1, right? Because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's 6. So we say less than 6 instead of less than equal to 6. Then we'll have our increment. We'll put x plus plus, which means every time you pass through the loop, you're going to be increasing by 1. And there you go. Now you have your body. Now the reason we put x is equal to 0 and assign that value of 0 to x for the initialization is because, remember last video when I mentioned that the first value inside of your array is actually position 0, right? Your computer starts counting at 0 instead of counting at 1. So it's going to go 0 for that first 25. It will be 1 for this 5 over here. It will be 2 for this 10 over here. And this last 25 is going to be 5. So remember that. So we really want to match that. And the reason why is because we're going to be writing something that involves array x. And every time we pass through this, x is going to increase by 1. So we're going to see exactly how to do this. First thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we write something that's going to allow our sum to keep increasing each time we pass through our loop. Simple enough. You can write sum is equal to sum plus array x. This would work out. If you want to use the notation we learned earlier, what you can do instead is, rather than writing like this, you can write sum plus equal array. That's going to give the exact same thing. This means each time you pass through, you'll be adding whatever the value of the array is here, array x. It'll be added to the sum, and it will be stored inside of the sum. That's what the plus and the equal means. So we can leave it just like that. So now we can want to visualize exactly how this is going to work. You're going to go in here. It says start at 0. You're going to increase by 1 each time, and you're going to stop at 6. So it says, okay, the sum starts off at 0. We know that. Now the array, you're going to plug that 0 here because that's array x. So that means the first value. So it's going to take the 25. It's going to add the 25 here. Now x is going to be 1. It's going to be 1. That means it's going to go take the 5 here, and it's going to add the 5 to the 25. You're going to get 30, and you're going to go all the way down until you completed this, and then your loop is going to stop. Now we're going to want to send this sum to our screen. So we'll say the sum of all of the values inside of your array is sum end line, like that. And we'll see that when we go ahead and press this over here on our screen, we're going to see the sum of all the values inside of your array is 115. If you wanted to see this actually being displayed on your screen, what you can do also is you could have printed out the sum in here. If you print out the sum in here, you're going to see it increasing each time. So you can see how each thing gets added to it. So we'll go ahead and press build and run here as well. And we're going to see over here that our sum is going to start off at 25, 30, 40, 65, 90, and 115. So you can actually see it being added out here. If you didn't want all this, you would have to put it outside like I did with this statement over here. So that's how we can use a for loop to add everything that's inside of our array and get the sum. So if you have any questions regarding this or the previous video on arrays, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I will respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have more videos coming up.